hello. As I said I would, I'm making a video on God, and I realized that this is a completely loaded subject and that I have a lot of atheist subscribers and a lot of agnostic subscribers, and I am I'm in danger of offending everyone, but this is if you do have beliefs, then they should be able to stand up for themselves, and I think that no matter what the subject is, it should always be open for discussion, because once you stop growing, then what's the point? So I guess with a discussion like this, you need to start by defining what God is. And this is a tricky thing, because a lot of people see God as redundant, because there's a physical world, there's what we can measure within it, and there's science, and then where does God come in? God supposedly transcends reality and exists within God's own realm, according to most people and religions. So how can this ever be proven? Especially with what we know now about the brain, because we know now that all of our thoughts and emotions kind of come down to neurotransmitters in the brain, and even religious experiences kind of come down to occurrences in the temporal lobe. So there's really no way to prove God in terms of physicality, unless, and correct me if I'm wrong, but pantheism asserts that God is everything, right? Everything in the physical world, and everything that might not be in the physical world, it's all God, right? Well, I think that that's a really interesting idea, and I kind of want us to talk about that a little bit. So pantheism basically asserts that God is everything, and so a lot of people say that God must be uncaused. So if God is everything, then God spans back into the infinity of our past and into the infinity of our future. And if God fits so completely within infinity, then God is uncaused. God does transcend matter and reality by being all matter and all reality. Sort of maybe like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Something like that. So I think that that's a really interesting idea. Correct me if I got this whole thing wrong. But why not? I think that the concept of God really comes down to that God is a concept. In terms of our brain, we do have an overdeveloped forebrain. It's really way too big for our body. So I think this is called encephalization, and it happened because we learned how to cook meat, and this gave us more energy to go to our brain, because formerly we had to use the energy to digest meat, and so the meat sort of became pre-digested when we cooked it. And also we developed our brain because we had to figure out how to access foods like coconuts, and basically it all came down to food. But really, I digress. I think that God has to be within the conceptual realm, unless you're a pantheist. And when I say that, I mean that God is really an extension of human concepts of goodness, infinity, and love. God sort of fills in that mysterious nature of reality that we don't have access to, and that we suspect exists somehow. So people who believe in God oftentimes use God to explain the unexplainable. And this aspect of God is that God is essentially, God must be mysterious. People don't usually like to, people don't like to worship the physical world. People don't like to revere the physical world if the causes are obvious. I think that a lot of people think that spirituality can't be caused, or that God and all that God entails is not special unless we don't understand it. And I think this is silly myself. But I mean, has anyone noticed this? Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. I got interrupted by a phone call, obviously. And that's when my parents got here, so hopefully I can remember everything that I wanted to say in closing. I think in order to talk about God, it's necessary to sort of examine what consciousness is, because I think both concepts are pretty interrelated, or can be, if you like to think about God. So I guess what I was going to say is that as far as we can tell, the body is physical, and it receives input from a physical world and processes it via neurons and, of course, the five senses. And from these discrete interactions in the brain, from these smaller parts arises a more cohesive model of viewing the world. The brain, in order to function properly, must create a framework with which to function. And this in itself is a really interesting thing to think about and learn about. And I am taking some cognitive science classes right now, which is really interesting. But what I was going to say is that according to functionalists, and again, I might be getting this wrong, but probably not, don't worry. According to functionalists, the brain is physical, but the actual program that's running from the parts of the brain is not quantifiable. It's something that can't be measured, and something that must be experienced. And I think this is a really interesting and pretty sound way of looking at consciousness. And I think that God can be compared to this. God is something that arises from the human experience. God is like a piece of music or a work of art, in that a piece of art is made from a bunch of smaller brush strokes, but the whole of it means something different than just the collective brush strokes. And in the same way, music is this temporal collection of notes and sounds and tones, and it means something to us. It means something to us because we're human. Music is a human thing, as far as we know. Maybe it's a dolphin thing too, but I'm just leaving it there. And so I think that God certainly can belong in the realm of the conceptual, as a sort of poetry, as a way of revering the world around us. So, that's what I've been thinking about recently. So let me know what you think. Correct me if I made any mistakes, and I look forward to hearing from you.